Here tonight for the special Tahlequah City Council meeting. It is Monday, June 20, 2015, and the time is just after 7 p.m. We'll get this meeting started with roll call.
Councilor Weston. Here. Councilor Carroll.
Here.
Councilor Hires.
Here.
Councilor Bliss.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Clerk, I think you could write down 7:04. The reason I had to be unspecific is there's a glare on the clock and I couldn't read it, and I don't have my phone with me. But we'll put 7:04, and we'll get moving on to item number 3, which is public comments. Comments will be accepted from the general. They're included in the agenda. Will be given to citizens. Opening no action session is permitted by the City Council on any issue or topic raised by a speaker during this public comment period. Is there anyone who'd like to make any comments? Yes, ma'am. Just come up to the microphone and tell us who you are and tell us about your issue. We might not be able to say much back, but we'll be glad to hear it.
My name is Charlene Ruble. I reside at 106 Jamestown Street, and I just like to inquire about, and it's okay if you don't comment on it tonight, but there is a parking problem on my street. It is a rental property across the street from me. At times, today there were 7 cars parked and in their driveway, and sometimes it's blocking my driveway. I have complained before and was told that there would be parking signs along that side of the road. So it's becoming a big problem. And when they have other guests, sometimes on the weekend, it's more cars than that. I'm concerned as to whether there is some kind of limitation as to the number of people that can reside in a rental property at one time. There seems to be, I think that's a 3-bedroom home. So it's 7 people. I don't know if that's an issue with the College Housing Authority or who is concerned that is, but right now it's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll take some notes and try to get back with you at a later time. Can you leave some contact information with the city clerk before you go, and we'll try to get back in touch? Thank you. Anyone else like to make any comments?
Buddy Hunt, and I just want to commend our police chief, Nate King. As most of you know, we had an officer involved recently, and how he handled the family who was involved in that, how he dealt with the media involved in that. As a city, we can be very, very proud of our police chief. He was very professional, and I was there with him when he dealt with family and in the media, and I'm sitting there thinking, wow, he could be the police chief for New York City. I mean, he did that so very, very well, and I just want to commend him and our officers for the great job they did in the whole situation, and commend our police department, because we have men and women who are committed to this city, and they do an excellent job day in and day out. But I just want you to know, I'm so proud of our police chief, and I think all of us should be too, for the job he does and how he handled that situation. And I want to thank you.
Anyone else like to make any comments before we move along?
I would, I'm gonna use this time to take a cheap plug at something.
Public comments.
Yes.
Okay, good.
4th Annual Cherokee County Guns and Hoses Blood Drive, tomorrow from 11:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. and Wednesday from 9:30 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. at the First United Methodist Activities Building through the Oklahoma Blood Institute. But Cherokee County Police and Fire Departments are sponsoring this. It's our 4th annual. And like to see everyone out, we're also drawing for a pair of Medicine Stone passes from all successful donors. So hope to see everyone there one or both days.
Thank you.
Go Fire! Go Fire! And he chose this time because my backup lit.
Oh, I see. Strike, he recognized an opportunity. Sometimes we go months without anybody saying anything during the public comment section. Tonight we've had 3. Is there anyone else that would like to make comments this time? Seeing none, then we'll move on to item number 4, which is discussion and possible action on ordinance number 1224, 2015, rezoning property located east of the intersection of Downing Street and Old River Road from residential R1 to general commercial district C2. Mr. Johnson.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Yes, my name is Clint Johnson. I'm here on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission to send along their recommendation to Council for Ordinance 1224, 2015. I do have the staff report. If you guys didn't get it back, I think you did last meeting. There's a map in the back with colors. And I'll answer any questions that you have about it.
I think it's important to note there was some confusion due to the similarity of the colors on the diagram, that the one is dashed and the other is solid. The solid line indicates the land area that would be subject to change. The rest is municipal limits line. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Councilor, you heard the explanation in the agenda item reading and last council meeting. If you have any questions, Mr. Johnson or the applicant or anyone, now it's time to express those.
I do have a couple of questions.
Councilor.
My first question is obviously that's zoned R1 at this time. I'm just wondering if there's currently a business being run out of there. How's that happened?
I can't answer that. As far as I know, it's been used commercially for a long time. So.
And my other question is when I drove out there's sort of a natural barrier on the south side of all those trees. Would there be any way that if this were to be rezoned, could those trees be left there to protect at least the view that the people on the south side would have?
It is a possibility. My hunch is that it's public right of way where those trees are. We may be required to keep the right of way clear of things like that. They'll be required to put up a privacy fence. But I think we could work something out. There is a pretty thick row of trees
Yeah.
that provides a nice barrier.
You know, and I mean, when you drive by it, it doesn't make sense for it to be R1, to be real honest. I mean, because nobody's gonna build a house basically right there on the highway. But I can also see the concern with those property owners around it is if all those trees are gone, I mean, you have a straight shot to look at the back of the tin building, and you got a straight shot to look at that highway. I just wish there would be some way that we could be guaranteed that there would be a natural barrier of those trees, but there may not be.
Yeah, I think if it is in public right of way, there's more of a guarantee on what we do with it. If it's all on their property, then it's up to the property owner.
Since it is probably public right away at this time, why have we not had it cleared out?
Can't answer that.
Can't answer that.
Any other questions, Mr. Johnson? Is there anyone else that'd like to speak to the issue? Seeing no one, Council, do you all have a motion you'd like to? The polls give me every time. Did I miss them somehow? Who did? I'm sorry. Am I missing people? If you'd like to speak, come to the podium, please. I apparently am having a few blocked of raised hands. I apologize.
I'm Sharon Hedlund. Good evening. I'm, like she said, I hate to see the trees go down. I'd like not only to have that, but also to have, I'd like to not have it at all, but if I don't want to look at the back of this liquor store all the time and have people come wandering up into my driveway. I get one occasionally already from the liquor store and convenience store, wherever they come from. But it's very unsettling to look at and see a drunk person in your yard. And my husband gets a little upset with me when I go out and confront him on my own, because I have grandkids and I don't want them up there. But it was brought up that our property was in the county. We also own some property on down the street that is on the corner of Legion and Downing on the east side of Legion. And then we had a portion of property just beyond that. There's a home in between that, and we own the property on down there. I just really think it's gonna be a mistake to have a liquor store up there and have all this the ambulance kind of come through there. It's already gets a little hectic sometimes coming through there, and I just really, it's got a bunch of red flags. And we have several people, as I brought you the list of all the people that I could have got more signatures, but I guess got upset, I guess. But the citizens are concerned about the ambulance being delayed by more traffic in that area because the ambulance has to come through there. And I guess that's all I have to say right now. That if you want me to point out the property that we do own that's in city limits, I can. And I also have a description.
Thank you, Ms. Copeland. Jerry, was it you that had something to say? I'm sorry. Did you raise your hand a moment ago? You're good. Okay, thank you. Pastor Hunt?
I'll make, maybe not to speak, I don't know, but, I live on down that way. I have to go down East Down and get to my home every day, so I'm up and down that road several times. And I would just like to echo too what Councilman Weston said, that I've been told that the opening to that may be on East Downing, and I know y'all cannot force them to do that, but I would have you strongly encourage them to pass this to make sure that the opening and the drive-through is on the old River Road, because as sort of pointed out, the traffic right there on East Downing as it comes along that and turns right there is already very hectic, and there are a lot of, I've had several near misses myself coming through there, the people going several ways, and that is going to increase traffic a whole lot more and create congestion if it's opened on East Downing. And again, with the ambulance too, I can see a whole other situation there. So I would encourage them, if they're going to have a business there, again, we'd rather them not, but if they are going to have a business there, open it up to the entrance on the old River Road instead of on East Downing. If y'all can encourage that strongly, we'd appreciate it.
There's some things that can be done during development, if whether a change is made or not, any development that can be done to look after some safety and aesthetic issues.
Is there anything that we could impose as far as protecting the natural barrier with those trees? Because if all those trees come down, it'll make a huge difference on that area.
We can, but I would argue that now's not the time to try to do so. It'd be during the development. This is just a land use question. Any other questions, Mark? I saw you pull your.
Yeah, I just want to make a kind of a point of information. This tract is 500 square feet. An acre is 43,560. So this parcel is about 5,060 feet short of being an acre. And then prospectively, an acre is 208.71 feet by 201.71 feet.
Anyone else like to make any comments?
How big is the building that they proposed? Do you remember, square footage wise?
I think you mentioned 40 by 40.
So not 40 by 60.
40 by 60.
That'd be 24,000 square feet.
Councilors, you've heard.
No, I'm sorry.
16.
It'd be 2,400.
2,400.
Because 24,000 is rather sizable. Not a drinking joint, I know.
Dragon's tough, man.
Just
Yeah.
like Jim Webster's places.
Yes.
Yes.
That's
Looking for a motion. What's your pleasure?
according to our rules, rezoning, planning and zoning recommended it, and the notion has been brought forth for them as a liquor store, but that's immaterial as far as the rezoning is concerned. It's in the C2. So this time I will move to do rezoning.
Second. We have a motion and a second from Councilors Carroll and Bliss. Any other questions or comments from the public? Clerk call the roll.
Counselor Carroll,
Yes.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Bliss,
Yes.
Counselor Weston,
No.
motion carried.
Thank you. Mr. Johnson, Mr. Copeland, thank you very much. We move on to item number 5, which is discussion of possible action on an in-house review of the City of Tahlequah Food Book of Ordinances. Councilor Bliss. I do want to say very quickly, I owe you an apology. I just got the email back from OML today. I had encountered a delay. It was entirely my fault. But they did try to respond today. I just haven't been able to get back with them and get some details to you like we talked about last week.
Wonderful, thank you, Mayor. We visited this last meeting, and I may not have communicated my intentions clearly. I'm not wanting to reinvent the wheel, just basically grab whatever stands out as. And that would save us any money on the backside if we have to hire an outside firm to look over our code book. So I'm basically asking that we look at this in-house and make any recommendation changes that we see fit, and we can wait till we hire a firm to actually make those recommendations. But the more we do on the front end, will save us money on the back end.
I was signing documents and I heard you quit talking. Are you through?
Yes, no, yeah, I basically said what I needed to say. I may have miscommunicated what I was trying to convey last meeting. Like I said, I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. The more as we get in this, the better. But there are clearly some ordinances that stick out to me that just frankly don't belong or could be reworded to better suit our needs currently.
So if we were to say that we will try to gather some department heads, city attorney, myself and Mr. Smith together, and any other people.
I would suggest some council be involved as well. I think the more heads we have at the table, the better outcome what we're gonna have on it.
So we've got a concept, but the particulars are going to be left up to.
The particulars are in there, yes.
Okay.
And if I need to come back with a game plan or an outline, I can do that.
Well, it's one of those things, if we sense some kind of agreement or consensus that you'd like us to do that, and there's no objection, we can certainly get that process started, but without those parameters, we would handle it in a way that would be very likely to be unsatisfactory for whatever reason. So if you could provide some specificity, we can hit whatever goals you lay out.
I can do that.
Or we can get started tomorrow, however you would like us to approach it.
Well, would we like to bring this back again next meeting
We certainly can.
with specifics?
I would sort of appreciate more specifics, because I don't really know what the plan is when you say in-house review. I don't know, like, are people going to be assigned parts, or does everybody look at it?
And those are the details that I'm sure that no matter how we guessed, people would feel that we guessed wrong. So,
Well, code enforcement will need to be involved in all the aspects, and there's some chapters that we adopt that we just, frankly, we adopt them so we don't even mess with them. A lot of the chapters will pertain to certain departments, and there'll be some overlap in there. So, I guess what I would propose, and this is just, I can get it in a better form, but basically quarter it, and maybe each one of us counselors take a quarter, and then we team up with the administration, Mr. Smith, and the mayor, of course, and Mr. Medeiros, and any department heads that are involved, and of course, code enforcement. And we basically just go through it, and whatever pops out at us as being out of date or something that we just simply don't follow anymore, then we red flag those and we can pay more attention and either choose to amend or sever or just totally revoke altogether.
And then will we eventually hire an outside entity to look at that, or just?
Well, there may be parts, I'm not opposed to doing that, but if we just say, here's our book, let us know. I don't know what attorney fees are per hour, Mr. Medeiros. You know what an attorney charges per hour to look over
It depends
something?
on the experience.
It depends on the attorney.
And it also depends, like, you're gonna pay more for a Tulsa attorney than you are for a Tahlequah.
And OML, would they be of any assistance for us?
I made contact with them yesterday, or Friday. And the answer to that, I haven't been able to trade phone calls and extra emails to find out exactly what they can do for us, but we're getting there. That was the delay I spoke of earlier.
Would it be out of line to form some committee in the short term. So I fundamentally believe that this needs to be part of a greater plan. I mean, it needs to be part of the comprehensive planning. I know that I've said it every meeting now, it seems like I keep saying that, but that's what I think. And I think kind of the hodgepodge of putting it together and having some people work here and some people work there, and you might not have the expertise all needed. To me, that doesn't really sound appetizing. There's a couple things that don't sound appetizing. The hodgepodge kind of doing it, and I don't necessarily like just the elected officials and the city employees, department heads. I mean, I think it needs to be taken to the residents. I think there needs to be small business owners on there. There should be, mothers, fathers, people that are in the community that are working, that the ordinance will govern as well. And so I think that's why, to me, maybe form a committee, have that done, put some residents of each ward, as well as some of the elected officials. And I mean, if we're gonna try to go this route, I think we should do it as collaborative as we can, rather than kind of a split it up and divide and conquer, and then everybody comes back with what we have and hopes that it all meshes together. Does that make sense?
We considered a committee once before, we just could never get a cohesive group of people that were available on a consistent basis. So, I mean, it's not a far-fetched idea, it's just something we haven't ever made work yet.
I say we postpone until we hear from OML. I mean, surely other communities, other municipalities have done the same thing.
That was my question. What other municipalities have done this? Are you aware of their process, or can you put me back?
I have no doubt it needs to be done. I think I would just prefer maybe to wait until next meeting, so surely we'll get to know about it before then, and then it definitely needs to be addressed.
Well, we'll have an outline prepared.
We can take a vote to table, or we can simply take no action. Table means it automatically comes back. No action means we can take our time should there be any reason at all to postpone the meeting, or skip it. What's your pleasure?
I say take no action on it this time, because we're sort of waiting at the hands of OML too.
Unless there's an objection, we'll take no action. Seeing none, then we'll move on to item number 6, which is discussion and possible action to approve resolution number 07-20-15, participation with the state of Oklahoma Department of Transportation in the traffic signal project at the intersection of US-62 and Southridge Road. Mr. Smith.
What you all have is on page 6, you have a letter from where Cherokee Nation visits the Oklahoma Department of Transportation stating what they would be doing. Basically, they're funding that intersection at 100%. What the Oklahoma Department of Transportation needs is a letter of support, especially from the city of Tahlequah, supporting the signal light, and that's where the resolution comes in. It's a standard, that for us to do. Basically acknowledging that we're aware that there's going to be a signal light there. The funding is 100% Cherokee Nation, any right of way Cherokee Nation. That once it's done, that you see in there where TPWA has agreed to take care of all the maintenance of the signal lights as they normally do, and take care of the utilities.
And we've had that conversation with them.
This letter stating that they've had this conversation, and so it's,
Oh, that conversation has been had.
Yes.
Okay. No monetary obligation to the city. It turns a 3-way intersection into a 4-way intersection. And this stoplight has quite the history. It's had involvement with the city of Tahlequah, the Department of Transportation, the Adjective, and Tahlequah Public Schools, and I believe even a couple of private donors to get it there. And now we've got the Cherokee Nation coming in because of their development there in the area. And so everyone will have a hand in it practically at some point or another. We just need this resolution to pass so that we can sign the letter and get it over to ODOT.
A motion to approve the resolution.
We did.
So
Do we have a motion for approval of the resolution? Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilor Bliss. Is there any further questions? Seeing none, clerk call roll.
Councilor Bliss, Councilor Bliss.
Yes.
Councilor Weston.
Yes.
Councilor Carroll.
Yes.
Councilor Hires.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you all. Item number 7 is discussion of possible action on the purchase of 19 structures and associated property on Basin Avenue. Council, you may remember this item came up 2 or 3 times, a little over a year ago. There were 19 structures to the south of 4th Street Bridge with, I think, 24 or 28 rentable units. We'll get some more of those details firmed up here in just a second from Mr. Wright. But it sits on, well, I'll let him speak to those technical details, but you're roughly familiar with what we want to do with it, which involves turning it into green spaces, nothing else, but could have a lot more done to it if you all had other ideas. Certainly, it was a part of the bond issue that was passed in 2013. It's been actually part of the long-range plan from 1993 to acquire this property. And in fact, Mr. Johnson didn't discover a document from like 1960-something. I don't remember the exact year. That actually had this acquisition in mind literally 40 years ago, 45 years ago. That's great. And, or I guess it's going on 59, it was a track of time. But it's only been in the city side. We just lose track of it over the course of decades here and there. And now we have the opportunity to get a hold of it. It is for sale. We have the money available. And in any combination that we need, we can make it happen financially. And it affects several things, the park, the trail, water quality, floodplain management, crime. We've had federal lawsuits come out of there. There have been all kinds of issues, firemen, policemen, waist deep in water. I think, strangely, not during this last record rain, but several times over the years, we've had emergency services personnel trying to pull people out who didn't know to leave a high water area. Anyway, Mr. Wright, would you like to come tell us the particulars of the property? I don't want to get detail wrong, but just for the public's sake, run through those details again for us.
Sure, thank you. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I have had Jim Chafin, the local surveyor, review the legal descriptions, and he's estimated the property somewhere between 6 and 7 acres, and that's something that we'll have to get nailed down once if you decide to move forward with this. There are 19 structures. Let me get to my notes.
If you'd like to make one, sir, motion's always in order. Well, we can continue discussion after the motion is made. Sure.
This time I would make a motion that we accept the offer to purchase this piece of property for $295,425. Is that correct?
I think the purchase price is technically $295, but there were some other fees in the contract that made it with that change. But you want to make a motion to approve the contract?
Yes.
Okay. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A second from Councilor Tyers. Now, Councilor Weston, it's clear you had a question or a comment or two there. Would you like to go ahead now?
Well, my first question is last time this was brought up, it was an executive session, and now it's not. I'm wondering why we were not given the opportunity for this to be an executive session to discuss the particulars.
I didn't see the need. We just brought it here so we could have an open discussion. We've been through some of the details before, so.
Well, my other question is, what is the estimated cost of condemnation?
Oh,
Okay.
It'd be well over $100,000. And in fact, it depends on whether they treat the properties as one great big property or whether they treat each individual house. But the expense would be horrendous.
Now, Park, let me have you clarify. You mean the condemnation cost would be $100,000 in addition to what they would ultimately pay for the property? Okay.
Yeah. And the risky thing about condemnation is that it is a method of last resort style of acquired property. And when you have an opportunity to do it as an arm's length transaction, condemnation is not easier, and it is far more expensive, and the property would be tied up for years in the condemnation process. So for what it's worth, I have a background in real estate investing. I know what things cost, and I have no problem with the $295,000 price tag. Because I think years ago, it started off over $1 million that they wanted for the property, but the circumstances are right because the sellers are wanting to sell. We've got the money. It's not like we're going to have to beg or borrow whatever, it's there. And so that's kind of a long way around answering your question of the issue of condemnation. It is to be avoided if at all possible.
Right, I just wanted to know what the costs were compared to the actual asking price.
The other risk that a governmental entity runs is the court at the beginning of a condemnation case will appoint three, they're called commissioners, but they actually serve the purpose of an appraiser, and they go out to put a value on the property. And if the city does not beat the commissioner's report by 10%, then the city has to pay the attorney fees for the other side. So you could be looking at $150,000, give or take, and which would represent approximately half of the purchase price that's being proposed. So to me, condemnation is not an acceptable gamble. If we're thinking, oh, we'll get it cheaper,
Right.
you won't.
Right, yeah, I have no doubt,
Yeah.
I just sort of want to know what
Okay.
the estimated costs were. The other question I have too, I mean, because this is, obviously it's in public forum now, not executive session, my first thought would be to counter their asking offer. And it's really, it's not like we seem to have that opportunity to counter.
Well, that's generally what we do, and we actually have had those discussions, made those counters.
The asking price is $379,000.
Well, it started at 430.
Started at $480 originally.
So we've done a great job.
And the city originally offered $1, and it was negotiated back and forth, and we landed at $295. And that is acceptable to the seller.
It did not take my dollar off.
You know, there was also a question about a soil study, which is what you brought up.
I did, and I've been informed that since it's probably got some ashes there, we're still responsible for our own mess.
We are still responsible for it, but that would be my other concern is if we do find out that there needs to be remediation and the remediation is $100,000, you know, then we're paying the $295 on top of the 100. I mean, I personally would not purchase property until I knew exactly what was there, you know, I mean, but
I almost guarantee there's lead and asbestos there. When the Cunninghams owned that, it was all they could do to keep on top of it. My suggestion would be to have the abatement board and the fire marshal go through those properties, and if they come back saying 1 through 7 are fit for, to be inhabited, then okay, we'll make a deal on that, and the properties 8 through 19 need to be condemned and abated, then that would be at the current owner's expense, you know, it's.
Council, Chief Hammonds.
You mentioned what, you just, speak on what you just mentioned. There are several structures down there that have already been burned and already have problems. And they're not enough, we won't, enter into them if there's a fire.
Is it of all 19 properties?
Yeah, I think there's 5 that at least I know of. And I haven't been in all 19 properties.
No. But we have these advisory boards, and I say we turn it over to them, and let them investigate a little bit more thoroughly and perhaps get a.
well, the structures are all going to be torn down.
Well, I mean, it's gonna be torn down either way.
Right.
It's just who's gonna pay for it.
There's another option as well. I've spoke with DEQ on a number of occasions. And if we relocate the structures, we don't have to worry about the abatement issues. It's when you start demoing the structure. But if we jack them up, put them on I-beams and roll them somewhere else, then it's not our problem.
So if it becomes someone else's problem, that
Exactly.
issue's never addressed. I mean,
But it's not our responsibility.
Well, what about the
For
soil
DEQ.
testing though? DEQ, last time I talked to DEQ, they said they would do it for free.
That was not the case. They,
So they won't do it for free? Because I talked to somebody in Oklahoma City and they said it was free soil testing.
It's free for brownfields application. Since we are the liable, we're the party that put the whatever's there, we're responsible, therefore we can't qualify for brownfields help.
So we couldn't for getting any assistance anyway.
Correct.
councilors, any questions or comments?
You know, I'm very supportive of this. I think it's part of the master plan that we need to follow, and I'm very, very supportive of it. I'm just so concerned, you know, price obviously has came down a significant amount of money. It's still not worth $295,000, but, you know, the neighbor's paying more.
190 to 200 range would be
190. My first thought, I would counter at 200, but, you know, that would be my first thought, but.
Councilors, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any questions or comments? Or give us a roll call, please. Oh, yeah.
Has there been an appraisal?
No, sir.
Why?
We attempted one and the appraiser handed it back and said, there's no way I can give you an accurate value. This is a pretty unique property.
No,
Well,
because of the
I mean,
condition of the properties, he wouldn't give a value.
You can't compare it to, there's nothing to compare it to.
No,
Difficult to appraise.
Right. You can't,
I think it would be worth more without the properties there.
right, it needs to be compared to vacant land, but there's no, where's there 7 acres of vacant land in the
First,
city?
7 acres of vacant land in a floodplain has very little
Very
value.
little value.
Let's say we offer the man $20,000 an acre, $140,000. I'll sell my house for that. My 10 acres.
We don't need it for a park.
Yeah.
Clerk, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilor Weston,
I abstain.
Councilor Carroll,
Yes.
Councilor Hires,
Yes.
Councilor Bliss,
No.
Mayor Nichols,
Yes.
motion carried.
That's right, thank you. Council, thank you for the discussion, and we will try to get this acquisition executed. I think the closing date was September 1st, and then we'll try to carry through with it and make it something everybody can be proud of. So move on to item number 8, which is discussion of possible action to approve general fund department to department reallocation to cover approved salary overage for part-time assistants to the court clerk. Mr. Smith, Marcy is here, I'm sorry, either one of you would like to address this item?
Hello, Mayor, Council. This was an approved expense that occurred during last fiscal year, and I brought it to Kevin's attention. This person was needed to work the hours that she worked. This department is such a tight department, there wasn't enough funding to cover it, and we just need to reallocate from one department to another, from managerial salaries to the court.
So a lot of wiggle room there, so we need to just take care of some bookkeeping. Counselor, you've heard the explanation. Do you have any questions at this time?
I'll make a motion to approve the general fund department to department reallocation to cover approved salary overs for part-time assistant to the court clerk.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Councilor Hires. Clerk call roll.
Councilor Carroll,
Yes.
Councilor Hires,
Yes.
Councilor Bliss,
Yes.
Councilor Weston,
Yes.
motion carried.
Thank you. Item number 9 is discussion and possible action to engage Michael W. Green, CPA, for audit of the financial statements of the city of Tahlequah period ending June 30th, 2015. Marcy, you're already at the microphone and ready to go. It's a standard issue item now.
Yes, very standard. Mr. Green has done a very good job for us over the years. He's listed on, his credentials. He's on the list of approved auditors, yes.
He does a very good job. Every now and then there's a hiccup on the backside that he cannot help that stalls the submission of the audit until after the deadline in December 31st. But so we'll need to, make absolutely certain that we're staying on top of that this year. I don't think it's anybody in this room who's caused that to happen, but we do want to make sure that we try to get that statutory deadline.
Make a motion, we engage Michael W. Green, CPA, for audit of the financial statements of the city of Tahlequah for the period ending June 30th, 2015.
We have a motion from Councilor Bliss. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilor Weston. Are there any other questions or comments? Clerk call the roll.
Councilor Hires,
Yes.
Councilor Bliss,
Yes.
Councilor Weston,
Yes.
Councilor Carroll,
Yes.
motion carried.
Marcia, are you up again? Like it. Item number 10 is discussion of possible action to engage Alan Chapman, CPA, for compilation of financial statements of the city of Tahlequah for the period ending June 30, 2015. I want to make sure that I say that this is where we sometimes get hung up, that it was not Mr. Chapman that had done this before.
That is correct. In the
Mr. Barry Spires has been doing it for us the past few years. And it's my understanding that he's going to work for private industry and did not want to undertake this any longer. It is what we were waiting on so long for last year. Let's see, Lori Kimball works for Allen Chapman. I met with them. Lori used to do the compilation when Barry was the auditor, so this is something that she has done in the past. Allen Chapman's CPA firm has handled for us in the past, and I expect them to do a very good job.
Well, I hope you all approve it, because inadvertently, without realizing it, I signed that contract just now. I can rip it in half if you all don't want to do it, but they gave them to me in a bunch and I didn't realize it.
I'll make a motion.
Yeah, I can rip it in half right now, but would you all like to make a motion?
Yes, I'll make a motion to engage Allen Chapman for a compilation of financial statements for the period ending June 30th, 2015.
The motion for approval, is there a second?
Second.
We'll give it to Councilor Hires. You got your beat by just a second, Doc. Clerk gives the roll call, please.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Counselor Weston?
Yes.
Counselor Carroll?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Motion carried.
I can now hand this down officially to the clerk. Thank you. Marcy, you're a heavy hitter tonight, aren't you? Item number 11 is discussion of possible action to approve cash loan from general fund CSPP grant fund in the amount of $46,000. You and Kevin again are up.
Okay, and this is something that has happened in the past before for different regions. The last time that it happened at the airport, there was a change order. That is not the case this time. There were no change orders. But there was someone in the FAA entered the wrong amounts. And so we didn't have all of the funding in our checkbooks with the FAA that we needed, and so they were having to amend that. In the meantime, the contractors have completed the work and they're needing to pay their subcontractors also. So we didn't have enough cash in the fund to cover it all from our original match, and so if we loan this money, I expect just a short 2-3 months, possibly the most, before that will be made back available for us to repay the
Before the FAA gets us the money.
Yes,
Strange how a spreadsheet error can cause
it
A lot of
is.
trouble.
I was happy it wasn't on my end.
us. Yeah, that's right.
This is all legal and we can move it.
Absolutely, absolutely. About 6 months ago, we did this with a different grant, and the reason we had to do it then was because of a change order, like I had said. It did take longer because it was a change order and they had to do the grant amendment a different way. So we did get that reimbursement back, and we paid the general fund back, and now we're ready to close that grant out.
So you expect it just to take 2 or 3 months? you
Yes.
think? Okay.
Yeah, most.
Any other questions, councilors? Entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve the cash loan from the general fund to CSPP grant fund in the amount of $46,000.
Is there a second?
One second.
First from Hires and second from Weston. Clerk call roll.
Counselor Weston?
Yes.
Counselor Carroll?
Yes.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Marcy, thank you.
Thank
I'll say thank you, let you sit back down. Item number 12 is discussion of possible action to accept the retirement of Thomas Crowe from Solid Waste Services effective August 1st, 2015. Ms. Betty, I thought you don't need to come up to the microphone. I think it's a pretty standard issue thing. We just need to accept his retirement. I make this joke every single time, even if we don't accept it. I really doubt he shows up on the 2nd of August. So
I move to accept his retirement.
is there a second to Councilor Hires' motion?
Second.
Councilor Bliss, clerk call roll.
Counselor Carroll? Yes. Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Counselor Weston?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Sounds the same thing for item number 13, discussion of possible action to accept the resignation of Kenny Boston from the street department effective August 3rd, 2015. Do we have a motion to accept Mr. Boston's resignation?
So moved.
Is there a second? Clerk call roll.
Counselor Hires?
Yes.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Counselor Weston?
Yes.
Counselor Carroll?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 14 is discussion of possible action to appoint Park. We've done this once before. These are all 3 volunteer firefighter appointments. Can we make an omnibus motion to appoint these 3 gentlemen to the volunteer firefighter group?
I would say unless there's objection by the council, that they could be done as an omnibus.
Councilors, unless you have an objection, we would entertain a motion for items 14, 15, and 16, which would be to appoint Robert Duncan, Jesus Nava, and Heath Pennington as volunteer firefighters in the fire department.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a preference in order that they're appointed, or is it?
Needs to go in the order of Robert Duncan, Jesus Nava, and Heath Pennington.
And we can make that as a part of the motion,
Just as listed here?
as listed on the
Yes, okay.
motion from Councilor Carroll. Is there a second?
Second.
Second from Councilor Hires. Clerk call roll.
Counselor Carroll,
Yes.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Bliss.
Yes.
Counselor Weston. Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you. I need to look out particularly at Vaughn there and say congratulations. I remember when you were a 9-year-old kid running around playing soccer for me. And to see you on fire departments, warms my heart. Congratulations, everyone. Item number 17 is discussion and possible action to approve the following budget amendments to budget remaining fund, balance of funds on June 30th, 2015. Marcy, we should have kept everything together for you. Come back up to the microphone and give us the explanation. It's, again, it's pretty standard stuff.
Yes, this is very standard. When we passed the budget, it was written in the notes that all of the balances in the grant funds would be carried over. And so basically what I'm asking is for you to approve that I roll over the existing account balances from those grant funds. There are 8 of them. Item number 18 is also the very same type of amendment that these 7 listed above are. So that's
Councilor, do we have a motion to approve the budget amendments as listed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And then Councilor Bliss. Are there any other questions or comments? Clerk call roll.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Bliss,
Yes.
Counselor Weston. Yes. Counselor Carroll.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
Item number 18 is discussion and possible action to approve Tahlequah impaired driving enforcement grant 4 budget amendment number 01 in the amount of $8,618.71 to budget funds for the grant that were awarded from the Oklahoma Highway Safety Office. Thank you, you heard Ms. Gill's explanation. We have a motion.
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hires, you're always just barely behind. Bliss and Hires for approval. Clerk call roll.
Counselor Bliss,
Yes.
Counselor Weston.
Yes.
Counselor Carroll,
Yes.
Counselor Hires.
Yes.
Motion carried.
And item number 19, is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
I'm gonna throw her phone, give her the motion, I'll give you the second, Counselor Hires. Give us a roll call, please.
Counselor Weston. Yes. Counselor Carroll. Yes. Counselor Hires.
Yes.
Counselor Bliss.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We're all ready to go. I need to start making sure that Tom's ready to go. You ready to go, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. In that case, we'll just move right back into regular session. I think we've started kind of learning some lessons from our newly elected official trainings and go to item number 21, which is discussion of possible action on the 2015-2016 contract with the FOP Lodge 201. Is there any action desired by the council this evening on that contract?
No action.
I don't hear any action from anybody, and certainly Councilor Carroll's now on record for no action, so we can move on then to item number 22. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion from Councilor Hires, is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilor West, a second, excuse me, Councilor Weston, clerk call roll.
Counselor Hires,
Yes.
Counselor Bliss,
Yes.
Counselor Weston.
Yes.
Counselor Carroll.
Yes.
Motion carried.
We are adjourned. I'll try to get them through if they think I'm a jerk.
Thank you.
If I push it too hard, they think I'm a bad man.
I'm used to it.